Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest battle you'll ever fight won't be in the world outside you. It will be in your own mind. Every single belief, every fear, every hesitation you've ever carried was planted there by someone else. And until you take control of that programming, you'll live by limits that aren't even yours. What if I told you that success isn't about luck, talent, or even opportunity? It's about rewiring the thoughts that shape your destiny. Because if you can brainwash yourself for success, you can create a life so powerful, so unstoppable, that nothing can pull you back again. And most people are walking through life with a mind that's been programmed by the world around them, by fear, by scarcity, by limitation. But what if you could reprogram that? What if you could brainwash yourself for success? Because that's exactly what it takes. You've already been brainwashed by society, by your environment, by the opinions of others. The question is, who's doing the programming now? You or everything around you? And see, every belief you hold, every habit you repeat, every pattern you run, it's all conditioning. And if you don't take control of that conditioning, it will take control of you. You'll find yourself chasing goals that don't fulfill you, settling for less than you deserve, believing you can't when the truth is you always could. The secret isn't about discovering your potential. It's about uninstalling the lies that make you forget how powerful you already are. And success starts in your mind long before it shows up in your life. Every achievement, every breakthrough, every transformation, it begins with a new story. You have to wash your mind clean of doubt, of fear, of that toxic voice that says, I can't. Because the moment you stop believing that lie, your entire world begins to change. And let's get real. You can't walk around feeding your bra in negativity, comparison, excuses, and expect greatness to grow from that soil. Your mind is the most fertile ground on earth. Whatever seeds you plant there, that's what you harvest. Plant anger, you'll get resentment. Plant excuses, you'll get regret. But plant possibility, gratitude, action, and you'll harvest power. You'll begin to think differently, feel differently, act differently. That's what I mean when I say brainwash yourself for success. And you must condition your mind the same way an athlete conditions their body every day. Relentlessly. You don't go to the gym once and expect to be strong forever. You don't meditate once and expect eternal peace. You have to do it over and over again until it becomes your new normal. You have to teach your brain what to focus on, what to value, what to ignore. And most people wake up and the first thing they do is check their phone. They see news, negativity, chaos, and they're already programming themselves for stress. You need to flip that. You need to wake up and command your state. Prime your mind before the world gets a chance to do it for you. Because your state determines your story, and your story determines your destiny. And every morning ask yourself, what am I focusing on? What does this mean? What am I going to do about it? Because focus equals feeling, and feeling equals action. If you focus on what's missing, you'll feel lack. If you focus on what you have, you'll feel abundance. And when you feel abundance, you act with courage, you move forward, you create momentum, and you can't brainwash yourself for success if you're feeding your mind with garbage. You've got to be intentional about what you consume. Read empowering books, listen to powerful voices. Surround yourself with people who stretch your vision, not shrink it. Guard your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. The energy arutu. And you is either fueling your future or feeding your fears. And then don't just think positive thoughts, install empowering beliefs. There's a difference. Thinking positive is surface level. Believing positive is transformation. When you believe something deeply enough, your brain finds a way to make it true. It's called the reticular activating system, your brain's filter for reality. Once you set a belief, your brain scans the world for proof of it. You literally start seeing opportunities that were invisible before, simply because your mind was tuned to a new frequency. That's how you create your own luck. And you want to brainwash yourself for success? Then make success familiar. Most people are more comfortable with struggle than with achievement. Their nervous system is wired for survival, not fulfillment. So when success starts to show up, they sabotage it because it feels unfamiliar. You have to train your nervous system to feel at home with abundance, with growth, with excellence. You do that by visualizing it, feeling it, acting as if it's already real. The brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and experience. It only knows what you repeatedly focus on. And every time you visualize your success with emotion, you're carving new neural pathways. You're rehearsing victory in your nervous system. That's why champions practice not just on the field, but in their mind. You've got to see it before you can seize it. You've got to feel it before you can live it. But let's be honest, you can't reprogram your mind if you keep reinforcing your old identity. Every time you say, that's just the way I am, you're cementing your limitations. The truth is, your identity is fluid. You can choose who you become. You can decide what's true for you. Stop identifying with your past and start identifying with your potential. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence, and you must interrupt the old patterns. When fear shows up, don't let it run the show. Change your physiology, change your focus, change your language, move your body, stand tall, breathe the deep. Speak powerfully. Your body is the remote control to your emotions. You can't feel weak when you move like a warrior. You can't feel hopeless when you breathe like a champion. Train your body to match the energy of your goals, not the weakness of your excuses. And repetition is the mother of mastery. The more you repeat new patterns, the stronger they become. You don't need to feel motivated every day. You need to build habits that work even when motivation fades. Make your success automatic. Make it your default mode. When doubt whispers, drown it out with action. When fear creeps in, move anyway. When your old self tries to pull you back, remind it who's in charge now. And you are the programmer. You're the architect of your reality. You're the one writing the script. And every thought, every word, every decision is a command to your subconscious. So what are you commanding right now? Are you programming success or fear, confidence or hesitation, abundance or lack? Because your subconscious doesn't question, it obeys. Feed it what you want to experience. And there's power in rituals. Create daily habits that anchor you to the person you're becoming. Journal your wins. Speak your affirmations out loud. Visualize your goals with intensity. Reflect on your growth. Celebrate progress. These small disciplines stack up and rewire your identity. You're not just doing the habits, you're becoming the kind of person who does them naturally. And you've got to be unreasonable about your standards. The world tells you to be realistic, but realistic is just another word for average. Don't let average thinking dictate your destiny. Brainwash yourself with excellence. Expect greatness from yourself, even when nobody's watching. Hold yourself accountable to a higher standard, not because you have to, but because you can. And when you raise your standards, your brain goes to work finding ways to meet them. That's the secret. It's not about hoping things will change. It's about demanding more from yourself than your excuses can handle. When your mind is locked in on what's possible, the impossible starts to lose its power. And there will be moments when you doubt yourself, moments when your environment doesn't support your vision. That's when the real brainwashing happens, when you choose faith over fear, courage over comfort, progress over perfection. You train your mind to believe that no matter what happens, you will find a way. Because successful people aren't lucky. They're trained. They've brainwashed themselves to focus on solutions, not setbacks. And you've got to understand, success is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the person who deserves it. And that process begins in the mind. You can't attract abundance with a scarcity mindset. You can't attract strength from a place of weakness. You've got to build it from the inside out. And every day remind yourself, I am the creator, not the victim. I decide what thoughts get to live in my mind. I decide what emotions dominate my body. I decide how this story ends. That's real power. The power of self-directed conditioning. The power to brainwash yourself for success, not by accident, but by design. And once you take that control, everything changes. The moment you decide that your mind is no longer a playground for fear, but a factory for greatness, you begin to step into a version of yourself that few ever meet. Because most people live at the surface. They live reacting, surviving, repeating. But you, when you start reprogramming your mind, you begin living from a place of creation. You start shaping your reality consciously instead of accepting it passively. And the truth is, you can't have an extraordinary life with ordinary thinking. You can't expect success while thinking like a victim. You have to brainwash yourself with the truth that you are not your circumstances. You are the creator of them. Every time you see this is just the way it is. You reinforce the illusion that you have no power. But the moment you say, this is the way I choose it to be, everything shifts. The energy changes, the possibilities open, because power doesn't come from control, it comes from choice. And you have to start choosing what you focus on. You have to start choosing what story you tell yourself every single day. Your mind will always believe what you repeat to it. So if you tell yourself you're not enough, your brain will find proof to support that belief. But if you tell yourself you are powerful, capable, and unstoppable, your brain will begin scanning the world to prove that true instead. You're not lying to yourself when you do that. You're rewiring your nervous system for success. You're replacing old software with a new code. And every thought carries energy, and that energy shapes your state. You can't move powerfully toward your goals if you're vibrating with fear. You can't make bold decisions if your inner dialogue is filled with doubt. That's why you've got to clean your mental environment every single day. Just like you wouldn't let your physical home become cluttered with trash, you can't let your mental home be polluted with self-sabotage. You have to sweep it clean, clear out the limiting beliefs, throw out the negative self-talk, and replace it with language that builds you up instead of breaks you down. And ask yourself, what do I allow to live rent-free in my head? Whose voice do I keep replaying? Because sometimes the voice that's holding you back isn't even yours. It's the echo of someone who told you you couldn't. Maybe a parent who doubted you, a teacher who dismissed you, a friend who mocked your dream. But you have to decide right now, those voices don't get to live here anymore. You're taking your mind back. You're the landlord now, and only empowering thoughts get a key. And you've got to make a decision so powerful that it rewires your identity. A decision that says no more half living, no more shrinking. And understand this, your brain doesn't care whether what you tell it is real or imagined. It just responds to repetition and emotion. So start imagining boldly. Visualize success so vividly that your body begins to believe it's already happened. Feel the emotions of victory before the victory arrives, because the mind that already believes it's won will find the path to win again. And you must also let go of the need for perfection. Perfection is a form of procrastination disguised as preparation. It keeps you stuck in fear, afraid to fail. But failure is feedback. It's data. It's how your mind learns, how your patterns evolve. Every so-called failure is simply an update to your programming. It's your mind saying, that didn't work. Let's adjust and try again. The only true failure is quitting. And when you train your mind for success, you stop waiting for motivation. You move because you've built momentum. Motivation fades, but momentum compounds. You do what you said you do even when you don't feel like it. That's real power, the ability to follow through regardless of your mood. That's how you prove to your subconscious that your words mean something. And every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-trust. Every time you take action despite fear, you build confidence. Confidence isn't something you find. It's something you create through repetition. You're literally teaching your mind that you can rely on you. And when your brain believes that, you become unstoppable. And rewiring your mind isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong process. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You begin to catch yourself when the old thoughts show up. You start recognizing the difference between your old programming and your new identity. You start choosing differently, faster, cleaner. And that's when success stops being effort. It becomes expression. It becomes who you are, not just what you do. And every day, remind yourself that your mind is your greatest asset. Train it with intention. Protect it with discipline. Fuel it with vision. Because when your mind is unstoppable, your life follows. The world begins to bend toward your beliefs. You stop trying to fit in, and instead you stand out. You stop chasing success, and instead you start attracting it. Because you've done the work, not out there, but in here. And so condition your mind until greatness becomes your default. Rehearse power until it becomes your natural state. Brainwash yourself for success until you can no longer recognize the person who used to doubt, fear, or hesitate. Because once your mind believes there are no limits, your life won't have any either. And that's when something extraordinary begins to happen. You stop fighting for your limitations. You stop defending the very patterns that have been holding you back. You start to see that the old story you've been living by was never truth. It was just repetition. It was just conditioning from a world that benefits when you doubt yourself. But when you start rewriting that story, when you take full ownership of your identity, you begin to live as the author instead of the character. You become the one holding the pen, shaping the plot, deciding how this chapter unfolds. And you start to realize that everything in life is a mirror. Every result, every relationship, every experience is reflecting the vibration you're operating on. If you're projecting fear, you'll attract reasons to stay scared. If you're projecting certainty, you'll attract opportunities that match it. The universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you believe you deserve. That's why reprogramming your beliefs is the foundation of every breakthrough. You can't attract abundance while secretly believing you're unworthy of it. You can't attract success while internally expecting failure. Your subconscious will always drag you back to the level of your deepest identity. And so you have to lift that identity. You have to condition yourself to think, speak, and move as the person who already has what you desire. Not pretending, embodying. When you walk into a room, don't shrink, expand, don't wait for validation, radiate it. The energy you project is a declaration to the world, this is who I am. And when that declaration becomes consistent, the world starts responding differently. You'll notice people treating you with more respect. You'll notice opportunities flowing to you instead of slipping past you. You'll notice coincidences lining up in your favor because the world rearranges itself for those who know where they're going. But you can't just think it once, you've got to live it daily. Every single day, recommit to your new identity. Speak to yourself as if you already are the person you're becoming. Move as if your success is inevitable. Train your brain to see from the perspective of victory, not from survival. The language you use with yourself is everything. Stop saying, I hope, I'll try, maybe. Those words create hesitation. Replace them with, I will, I am, it's done. Because the subconscious mind doesn't respond to uncertainty. It responds to conviction. And there's a power that activates inside you the moment you make an unshakable decision. Decision cuts off every other possibility. It tells your mind, let's say, this is who we are now, burn the boats. That level of clarity sends a signal to your nervous system that there is no turning back, and your brain begins to align every resource, every idea, every ounce of focus toward making it real. Most people never experience that kind of power because they're too busy keeping one foot in the door of their past. But you can't step into your future until you close that door and lock it behind you. And success isn't about adding more. It's about removing what doesn't serve you. It's about clearing the mental clutter that keeps you small. The doubts, the excuses, the guilt, the fear, they're not you. They're old programs. Outdated software that no longer runs your new operating system. You've upgraded, and now it's time to uninstall everything that doesn't align with your purpose. Every time you let go of something heavy, you rise higher. Every time you forgive yourself, you release more energy to move forward. And you have to understand how powerful the mind-body connection truly is. Your thoughts don't just influence your emotions, they literally alter your biology. When you think empowering thoughts, your body releases chemicals that make you stronger, more focused, more alive. When you think fearful or self-destructive thoughts, your body releases chemicals that weaken you, drain your energy, and cloud your clarity. That's why managing your focus is not optional. It's vital. Every thought is either building your future or breaking it. And start training your mind to expect the best. Not as blind optimism, but as a discipline, because expecting the best is a signal to your subconscious that you're preparing for victory. It doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means shaping it. It means holding your vision even when the evidence hasn't shown up yet. The world doesn't change when you see it differently. It changes when you believe differently. That belief is the soil where your destiny grows. And don't underestimate the power of language. Every word that leaves your mouth is an instruction to your subconscious. When you say, I can't, your brain shuts down creativity. When you say, how can I, your brain starts searching for solutions. When you say, I'm exhausted, your body obeys. When you say, I'm energized and ready, your body responds. Speak life into your goals. Speak power into your day. Speak victory into your future. You are the commander, and your words are the code. And you also need to recondition how you respond to adversity. Most people think challenges mean they're off course, but the truth is challenges are confirmation you're growing. The moment you decide to level up, life will test your new identity. It's not punishment, it's preparation. You'll face resistance because your brain is wired for familiarity, not fulfillment. It wants to pull you back to what's comfortable. But when you've brainwashed yourself for success, you recognize that discomfort is the doorway. You walk through it instead of running from it. You tell yourself, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. And your mind becomes unstoppable when you stop needing everything to be easy. Ease never built greatness. Comfort never created growth. The people who transform their lives are the ones who are willing to be uncomfortable long enough to rewrite their destiny. Because every moment of discomfort is rewiring your brain. It's teaching you resilience. It's teaching you how to operate from power even when the old programming wants to pull you back into fear. And you have to get obsessed with mastery, not just the mastery of success, but the mastery of self. Every successful person you admire is not more talented than you. They're more trained. They've spent years conditioning their mind to stay in control no matter what's happening around them. They've trained their focus to stay locked on the vision even when everything feels uncertain. You can do the same. It's not magic, it's repetition. It's showing up every day to remind your brain who's in charge. And then when that internal shift happens, your external world transforms. You begin walking differently, speaking differently, commanding different outcomes. Opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere, but they were always there. You just weren't tuned in. Success was always broadcasting, but your old frequency couldn't pick up the signal. Now that you've reprogrammed your station, you're finally hearing the music that was playing all along. And you can't forget the power of contribution, because success without meaning leaves you empty. When you brainwash yourself for success, it's not just about achievement, it's about impact. It's about using your gifts to serve, to elevate, to inspire. When your purpose extends beyond yourself, your energy multiplies. You wake up with fire, you move with conviction, you attract resources because life supports those who give more than they take. But you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to nourish yourself with the same intensity that you pursue your dreams. Feed your mind with inspiration. Feed your body with energy. Feed your soul with alignment, because when you feel full, you overflow, and that overflow becomes your impact. And the process of brainwashing yourself for success is really the process of remembering who you've always been before the world told you otherwise. You were born limitless. You were born curious, brave, and creative. The fear, the doubt, the hesitation, they were learned behaviors. And anything learned can be unlearned. That's the beauty of neuroplasticity. You can literally rewire your brain at any age, at any stage, to support the future you desire. And so keep feeding your mind evidence of possibility. Read stories of people who defied the odds. Watch examples of transformation. Remind yourself that if it's possible for one, it's possible for all. Because your brain is constantly looking for proof to justify what you believe, and you can choose what proof it finds. And every day, you're either reinforcing the old or installing the new. Every decision, every thought, every emotional reaction is another line of code being written into your subconscious. So make it intentional, make it powerful, make it aligned with the person you are becoming. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to keep moving, because consistency compounds, and over time, the new program becomes automatic. And that's when life starts to feel different, not because the world changed, but because you did. You'll notice that problems that used to overwhelm you barely move you now. You'll notice that things that used to trigger you no longer hold power. You'll notice peace where there used to be chaos, confidence where there used to be fear, clarity where there used to be confusion. That's what happens when your inner world becomes stronger than your outer one. And that's the ultimate freedom, the ability to stay centered no matter what happens, the ability to choose your thoughts, your emotions, your response, the ability to live as the deliberate creator of your destiny. That's what it means to brainwash yourself for success, to cleanse your mind of everything that once held you back and replace it with the truth of who you really are. Because when your mind believes, your life obeys. And once that happens, nothing, absolutely nothing can stop you. And once you reach that level of clarity, life becomes a completely different game. You start to understand that your external world is just feedback, a reflection of the frequency you're operating on. When things seem to fall apart, it's not punishment, it's data. It's your mind and the universe showing you what still needs reprogramming. Instead of reacting with frustration, you begin responding with curiosity. You start asking, what belief created this? What thought invited this? What pattern is this trying to reveal? Because when you approach life as a student, every setback becomes a seminar in self-mastery. And you begin to notice how everything connects, how your energy influences your outcomes, how your emotional state alters your perception. When you're operating from fear, the world feels like resistance. But when you're operating from power, the same world feels like opportunity. The difference isn't the situation, it's the state. That's why your state is everything. You can't attract abundance from a state of scarcity, and you can't create transformation from a place of tension. You have got to tune your body and your mind into alignment, and start by mastering your physiology. The way you breathe, the way you move, the way you carry yourself, all of it sends messages to your brain. When you stand tall, when you move with strength, when you breathe deeply, your brain releases chemicals that reinforce confidence and certainty. You literally teach your body what power feels like. And once your body learns that feeling, your mind starts matching it, because the body is the fastest way to change your emotional state. And the truth is, most people try to change their lives from the outside in. They wait for the circumstances to change before they feel good. But the masters of transformation know it works the other way around. You feel good first, and then the circumstances begin to change, because your emotions are signals that attract similar energy. The more joy, gratitude, and certainty you generate, the more experiences show up that match that vibration. And you can't wait for success to feel successful. You have to feel it now. You have to practice it daily. Every time you visualize your dream life with intensity, every time you act like the person who's already achieved it, you're wiring your brain to expect it. And expectation is the language of manifestation. When your mind expects greatness, it starts filtering the world through that lens. You'll see paths and possibilities that others miss because they're not tuned in. But you have to stay consistent. Consistency is what turns rewiring into reality. It's easy to be inspired for a day. It's easy to visualize for a week. But the real transformation happens when you do it long after the excitement fades. When you do it because it's who you are, not just what you want. Success doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. Small, repeated actions that compound into a completely different life. And then you have to be willing to confront the parts of yourself that don't want to grow, the part that loves comfort, the part that makes excuses, the part that whispers, you've done enough. That's the voice of the old identity fighting for survival, because every time you level up, your old self tries to pull you back to what's familiar. It will tempt you with laziness, distract you with fear, or convince you to play small. But that voice doesn't speak truth, it speaks habit. You can thank it for trying to protect you, but you can't let it lead you anymore. And reprogramming your mind means learning to recognize that voice and interrupt it instantly. Replace hesitation with action. Replace fear with movement. Replace self-doubt with evidence of progress. You can't think your way into confidence, you act your way into it. Confidence is built through repetition. Every time you show up when you don't feel ready, you strengthen the belief that you can handle anything. That's how new neural pathways form, through experience, not just intention. And you also have to master your environment. Your environment is either reinforcing your programming or resisting it. Look around you. What do you see, hear, and feel daily? The people, the spaces, the conversations, they're all shaping your thoughts. If you surround yourself with mediocrity, it will slowly pull you back into mediocrity. But if you surround yourself with excellence, it will pull you forward into excellence. You can't soar like an eagle if you keep nesting with pigeons. And you don't have to cut everyone off, but you do have to set boundaries. Protect your energy like it's your most valuable currency, because it is. Don't explain your vision to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. Don't seek validation from people who've never done what you're trying to do. Instead, align yourself with people who remind you of who you're becoming, not who you used to be. And while you're at it, audit the information you consume. Every post, every video, every word you listen to is another line of code for your subconscious. Feed your mind with material that uplifts you, challenges you, and expands your vision. Turn your car into a classroom, your free time into fuel. Every minute you invest in your mind multiplies your results. But here's something most people overlook. Self-talk isn't just what you say to yourself when you're confident. It's what you say when you fail. What do you tell yourself when you fall short? Do you punish yourself or do you learn? Do you quit or do you adjust? The way you talk to yourself after failure determines how quickly you rise. You have to become your own coach, not your own critic. Instead of saying, I messed up, say, I'm learning. Instead of saying, I can't believe I failed, say, that didn't work. Let's find another way. The language of growth creates momentum, and you can't afford to identify with your mistakes. You are not your past. You are your potential. Every day, life is offering you a blank page. You can keep writing the same story, or you can start a new one. The pen is always in your hand. Don't waste it rewriting old chapters that don't serve you anymore. And you also have to embrace patience. The mind you're reprogramming has spent years, maybe decades, thinking a certain way. You're not going to undo all of that overnight, but every thought you replace, every belief you challenge, every emotion you master, that's progress. You're not just building success, you're building alignment. You're becoming someone whose thoughts, emotions, and actions are all moving in the same direction. And when you start operating in alignment, things that once felt like hard work begin to flow. You'll notice how the right people, ideas, and timing start lining up effortlessly. It's not luck, it's coherence. Your inner frequency is finally matching the life you've been asking for, but you can fake coherence. You can't pretend to be aligned. You have to live it. You have to embody it every day until it becomes second nature. And that's why rituals are powerful. Rituals anchor your identity. They remind your mind who you are, whether it's morning priming, journaling, cold plunges, workouts, or affirmations. Rituals aren't chores, they're signals. They tell your subconscious, we're in control, we're intentional, we're unstoppable. The more you practice them, the faster your mind catches on. And then remember, success isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It's in the moments when you choose discipline over distraction. It's when you show up even when nobody's clapping. It's when you keep going even when the results haven't shown up yet. That's when the real rewiring happens, when you're planting seeds in silence, trusting they'll bloom when the time is right. And you have to be willing to operate in the dark for a while, to believe in your future when there's no visible proof yet. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the ability to trust the process long enough for the results to catch up. Because your subconscious doesn't measure time, it measures intensity. The more consistent emotion and repetition you give it, the faster it learns. And when you begin to live from that place, your life stops being reactive and starts being creative. You're no longer driven by circumstances. You're driven by vision. You stop needing to control everything because you finally trust that everything is working for you, not against you. You walk with a calm confidence, knowing that your inner world creates your outer one. And that's what it means to brainwash yourself for success, not to escape reality, but to create it consciously. To take full control of the only thing that truly belongs to you, your mind. Because when you master that, you master everything else. You start living not as a victim of your past, but as the architect of your future. And every thought, every action, every breath becomes a declaration of who you've chosen to become